Jer McGregor, co-founder of the Inlander, along with my brother Ted, and my mom's here somewhere too, Jeannie, the three founders of the Inlander. Thank you for coming today to the dedication of the brand new Inlander building here in Kendall Yards. I'd like to open by thanking the most important person in the room. This event wouldn't happen today if my wife of 14 years today hadn't said it was okay. So thank you, Tamara. And interestingly, I first met Tamara on the day of the very first Inlander edition, and so it's kind of been like serendipity ever since that she's been a huge part of my life and a huge part of the Inlander's success over the years. She's done a great job with our kids, Kaylee and Mason. Mason's here today. I'd be remiss if in a situation like this I didn't stop and thank my mom for all that she's done, and my grandma, who's no longer with us, who helped us launch the Inlander so many years ago, and my dad, who's always offered tremendous support in so many different ways. For me, I'd also like to thank our current staff, and they're the ones that get this done week in, week out. They're the ones that make it happen, that have allowed us to get to the point, in this point in history, where we actually constructed a building over the last year and a half, which was an incredible feat. And also the many people who have been here over our 20 years. A couple of them are here today. We extended invitations out to Boston and San Francisco and asked people to come back, and surprisingly they couldn't make it back to Spokane, but that's okay. One thing I've noticed over the years is every time we move from location to location, I always end up going through my old paperwork, and I come across mementos and paperwork of meetings and things like that, and I thought it might be fun to kind of share a couple of thoughts that I had from those. The first one was a letter to me from my brother, Ted, dated March 14th, 1993. And so that was about 6 months before the very first Inlander launched out. And he said, "I think we can count on Grandma for some support," which was true and vitally important, which also tells you that 6 months prior, we weren't really sure how we were going to get this done. And for those that don't know, there was a business for 30 years, 50 years, Perone Produce, and that was really the foundation of what allowed us to start the Inlander. And so it really was a sense of one business begetting another. And so we have tremendous thanks to our grandparents who are looking down on us today. Ted also suggested to me, maybe you should take a Macintosh course somewhere quick. And at the time, I just graduated. I didn't even own a computer. And he's like, "Oh, that's excellent brotherly advice." The next piece of paper I came across was an Inlander meeting agenda dated October 7th, 1993. And listed on the meeting notes, Renee wants to establish a system for further organizing the ad department. I would say that seemed like a good idea at the time. Andy needs more writers. And so this is 20 years ago. Marcia has already sold ads for the first issue, which was no small feat at that point. Nobody had ever seen an Inlander. Jeannie wants to know how the column inch rate works, which was a staple for newspapers. And Ted had already figured out the topic of the second edition, a story about the new hot thing, espresso. So we've come a long way in our 20 years, and I'm humbled by what we've been allowed to create here in the Inland Northwest with the people of the Inland Northwest. We have a few speakers today to help us dedicate the building. First up, I'd like to introduce Spokane's Mayor, David Condon.
I guess I'm shorter, huh?
I was just giving you the...
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go last because I don't know if you guys know, but I've known these two guys my entire life, and so I was hoping that if they started talking stories about me, I could finish with stories about them. But what do they always say? They buy ink by the barrel, so I realized that I probably shouldn't, otherwise next week's story, God knows what it'll be. But I'll tell you, it's pretty exciting to be out here today. I was just actually over here last week for the first time in the building, and really, you know, so many of us, and I don't know if you guys can do this, but we very rarely look back at our city. And there's a few spots where we can do that, and it is pretty amazing to me as we do that. And then really on this side of the river, and there's so many amazing things going on over here in Kendall Yards. I see Jim Frank here, and such a huge investment of not only obviously dollars, but investment in our community by those that have been part of our community for so long. You know, it is, like I always say, about building the city of choice, and it is these two brothers' dream, and over again, you see this in Spokane. And we have a rare entrepreneurial spirit in our town, where people are willing to do this. Quite frankly, in 1993, believe it or not, it would have been in 94, so the espresso had not hit Boston, and I was going to Boston College at the time, and so the real thing hadn't hit there. We didn't have Starbucks, believe it or not. We had a small coffee chain called Coffee Connection. I think they had 13 little coffee shops. Well, in a city of multi-millions, 13, you can't find them. So as you were writing that article, my brother and I, Grandma didn't give us any money, but Dad did, and we drove 3,500 miles across town after stopping by Costco, which, oh, by the way, Boston didn't have Costco then either, so we stopped at the second Costco in the country there on 3rd, and drove out to Northwest Boulevard to picked up our first coffee cart and dumped it all in the back of a 350 pickup and opened up our first coffee shop. And then 5 of them later, we closed it all up and went on with life. But I'll tell you, it is that spirit, I think, in so many ways, is the story of the Inlander. It is the story of Spokane. It is the story of the McGregor brothers. But, you know, really, it is the story of all of us. And I'll just continue with, you know, what is happening in this part of town, and what's so cool to have this over here is those investments. I said obviously privately by Jim Frank and his team here, but also publicly. You know, we will be finishing after a lot of due diligence the connection of the Centennial Trail. To really, you know, in so many ways we talk about the north side of the river and the south side of the river. This is, in a real way, a connection from the north side to the south side. And it's only taken us 138 years to get there. But the reality is, although we had a lot of bridges that brought cars back and forth, we've obviously constantly talked about the north side and the south side. But really what it's going to, I believe, is going to change that is having people walk, bike, constantly back and forth on the river, and really to make it one downtown. And this is what does that. To see the restaurants that are popping up on this side that are so uniquely Spokane is exciting. I've gone to a couple of them. And then, you know, as we look at the future of the Expo 74 site, obviously Riverfront Park, and it was a fun day when I stopped by the Inlander at their old location, and somebody was asking, well, what are we going to do about Riverfront Park? How are we going to decide what to do? And I'll tell you, I didn't personally know the passion that Ted had for Riverfront Park. I really didn't. And so I walk in, I just went into cold call, gave my card to the front desk, and out comes Ted going, well, you already over here? I just got done writing, you know, I don't know what your exact word, I'd call it bashing on the mayor, but, you know, he's like, so what? And I'm like, no, what were you just saying about me? Because I was just bashing on you over the press conference. So I go, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to talk about what brings us together, and quite frankly, to hear of that passion that Ted has had. But really, another amazing opportunity we have in this community could continue this, but what is exciting is to see individuals do this investment, and quite frankly, we will, hopefully the community will continue that investment just across the river. It has been 40 years. You guys are halfway there, but I think the future is pretty amazing as we continue to build the city of choice. This is a key part of this. This is what we all want. We want to live and work and play in a city that is vibrant. And quite frankly, although this is a building, many of you know, and all of the staff from the Inlander, the building means nothing. The vibrancy is you. There is a reason people pick up your paper. There is a reason people read it cover to cover. There is a reason why people go to it to figure out what is vibrant in town and what should they be doing. I would say I couldn't be more proud to have this type of investment in our community. But again, it really is about you guys. It is about the people that'll be in this building. Although great, the architects here, beautiful architecture, but quite frankly, it's obvious that it's around your culture. The building, when I went through with Ted, it was quite obviously Inlander culture is what the building really represents. So it's great to be here. We do want Spokane to really be more in the league of the up-and-coming cities. I see that with Kendall Yards, I see that with this investment, and I could only imagine what the next few years are going to be about. So great to be here. Congratulations from one brother to a couple more brothers. Way to go.
Thank you, Mayor Condon. Excellent segue into our next speaker. I'd just like to start out by saying Jim and Joe Frank run a company that inspires me personally. And if you're familiar with their work around the Inland Northwest, they do incredible work. They build communities. They don't just build houses or buildings. They build communities, and that's what Kendall Yards is going to be. Up next from Greenstone Development is Jim Frank.
I'm short too. I think I need to. I'm gonna have to hold on to that. It was 2 years ago, I think, or thereabouts, when I sat down with Jared and his wife Tamara and Ted and his wife Ann. I saw her here somewhere, and talked about this project. And the amazing thing was, this is just a great big expansive piece of dirt at the time. And the Inlander had to buy a vision. They had to buy an idea, and we're honored that that they had that trust not only in us, but trust in Spokane, trust in the economy of Spokane, and what was going to happen here. And so it's been it's been a wonderful journey over the last 2 years, and there's a number of people that really helped make this project successful. Chris Olson with Nystrom Olson is here. He designed this building, and it's got some wonderful, fantastic spaces that you're enjoying in it. And Jad and Jeff Kilgore were huge help to us in the project management and the construction management of this building, and they're here today. John Mandir is here. John Mandir did a lot of the heavy framing work on the building, and I think Jason Lathrop was the superintendent on the site, and so all of those folks were a big part of it. The vision that I think we shared here, and that's really what made the difference. That we're lifelong residents of Spokane, and I'm third generation here, and their family is more or less the same, and so our roots are here in Spokane, and our investments are here in Spokane, and I think we shared a vision for what we wanted Spokane to be, and I think that's part of what brought us together, enabled this to happen. And this piece of ground is important for a lot of reasons, and one of them is that river that's back out there. The river that's here is a fantastic cultural and economic resource for the city that's really been underutilized for 100 years maybe, because it was 100 years ago that the Olmsted brothers looked at this river gorge and said, this is the nicest, most beautiful river gorge in the world they'd ever seen. And so that's just another one of those things that other people don't have that we do. We have the Spokane River and this fantastic river gorge. And that means a lot to us culturally, it means a lot to us economically. And so part of what's happening here is our ability to take advantage of the river, to honor the river, and to get people access to the river. And so we're really grateful for the cooperation that we got from the City of Spokane and State of Washington. Grant money was made available to help construct this trail. It was going to take years under the normal circumstances, but that grant's allowed the trail to be constructed. So it's under construction right now, and we hope by Labor Day you'll be able to take a bike out on it or go for a walk. And when you do, you're going to see visions and views of the city and of the Monroe Street Bridge that you've never seen before. They've been here but really hidden. And so to open up that whole portion of the river is really, really important. And then the whole concept of walkable urban neighborhoods. And I tell you, the power of it is just amazing, because I kind of think sometimes there's just magic in the word Kendall Yards. I don't exactly know what it is. I just like to get a bottle of it and sell it. Because there's just a lot of people that are yearning for a sense of community, a lot of people that are yearning for a walkable neighborhood where people know each other, where they walk into their neighbors, where the services are close by and they don't have to drive everywhere. And so that's the other vision, I think, that the McGregor family bought into, was that this was an urban neighborhood, and supporting that concept. And so to have an iconic company like the Inlander make that decision to support this concept is really an honor for us and all the people that are working on this project. So we hope it means great things for the Spokane River. We hope it means great things for the city of Spokane, and we're really encouraged by the economic potential that comes from decisions like Ted and Jer made to invest in Spokane and invest here. So thank you guys very much.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Before I introduce my brother, I wanted to share a little bit. And Ted wanted this to hurry along and have it done in 15 minutes, but that's not going to happen. So, dated October 20th, 1993, Ted's first column. I'll just read a couple parts. I know I am one with beauty and that my comrades are one. Let our souls be mountains, let our spirits be stars, let our hearts be worlds. This was a poem by Ansel Adams that he opened his first column with. He goes on to say, with that sentiment in mind, welcome the Pacific Northwest Inlander, a new kind of publication created especially to serve the dynamic region of the Inland Northwest. Later, the Inlander, I have come to realize, is a vehicle through which the people of the Inland Northwest can explore and expand their boundaries. Apathy starts with the individual, as does participation. To participate, however, one must be informed, not just about meeting times and places, but about the issues facing communities throughout the region. Knowledge is the fuel that feeds the creativity alive within a society, and an informed populace should have all the tools they need to tackle the tough problems. At the Inlander, we hope we can play a small part in creating a better society here in our region, a society in which our souls can be mountains, our spirits can be stars, and our hearts can be worlds. Please help me welcome my brother, Inlander publisher Ted McGregor Jr. So I'll have to start out by correcting Jim just a bit. Yesterday I was writing my column about moving in here, and I thought, well, that'd be fun. I'm going to look at our first email exchange. And yesterday, as you know, was July 30th, so I dialed it up, and it was July 30th, 2010. So 3 years ago, we started talking about this. I spent a decade in an office over here, the Civic Building, beautiful building. Looked out of my window every day at a giant pile of dirt. Every once in a while, a truck would come by and push a little bit of dirt around, put a sign out front. Pretty soon that sign would go, a new sign would come, somebody push a little more dirt. Then Greenstone got involved, and you could just tell something was different. So, our business, as I put in my column, runs on the power of picking up the phone. We do that all the time as journalists. We call people, we find out. So what do? I pick up the phone and call Jim. Hey, Jim, what do you think? Well, 3 years later, here we are. So just to start with, I just have to thank Jim for being a kindred spirit and somebody who's got a vision for Spokane, a guy from Spokane, like the mayor said. We have great ideas here. We have excellence here. We can do world-class things here. I love the vision, Jim. We're proud to be a part of it. And that's kind of the point here, is to take a minute and stop and recognize excellence. I'm just blown away by this building. And there are so many people that are here to thank. And, a lot of you guys, Kilgores, Mandiers, you don't always get a chance to stop. I know, Jason was off to the next project, right in the middle of the end of us moving in. We don't always get a chance to stop and say, wow, we did something pretty awesome. Every time you drive by, I want all you guys to feel the pride that we have of all the work that all the contractors and subcontractors and specialists did. So it's like our newspaper. It doesn't work if we just have a reporter. It doesn't work if we just have a sales rep or just a manager. It's everybody working together, and we grind it out, and at the end of the week we have a paper. At the end of 3 years, you guys have a building for someone to live in. But I had a lot of fun getting to know all the guys involved, and again, just our deepest thanks to everybody who put their time and effort into that. That said, there's a few people that I want to thank in particularly. It was great to get to know Joe Frank, Jim's son.
it's cool to see the transition in their company. You know, we've got our kids here. Who knows what's going to happen when Jared and I get older, but we, you know, it's just neat to see what Greenstone, the succession. I was lucky enough to come to your anniversary party, and it was just really inspiring to see that. And Joe and I are both Huskies, along with Jared, and so it's been fun to work with him. After Jim signed us up, you know, Joe was my guy every day. Jad and Jason and Mike, I'm glad all you guys are here. It was just a pleasure to get to know you guys and get to work with you guys. You guys, I mean, I would walk in that shack with Jason and all the papers and all the emails and all the cards, and I was just like, man, I thought I kept track of a lot of different things going on. But, and then of course, paying for it, Nissa Gibbs is here somewhere. Bankers don't usually get thanked, but Nissa, that's Sterling, along with her boss, Ezra. I know that I called you probably, 15 times a day at one point for little questions. You know, that's the journalist in me coming through. I needed to know everything. And then, of course, Stephanie with the SBA portion of the loan. I know that towards the end, Nissa was probably, you know, kind of worried about me because I'd be like, okay, Nissa, you said we could pay for this, right? Because I just want to make sure that we didn't forget to carry the 5 or, you know. So when we see that first mortgage payment, we'll find out. Some of the final touches in the building are amazing. We're lucky to have Ben Joyce here somewhere. When you walk in for your tour, you're going to see, again, an amazing local artist whose work is just excellent. And, you know, it just throws a splash of color and it pulls the whole thing together. And I think there's a line in The Big Lebowski about that, but we'll reference that later. And then Joey Marcella out at Mario & Son. I'm not sure if he's here, but you'll see some stonework in the building that those guys just went above and beyond. They wanted to do something great for us, and we're so excited about what they did. Got some special mentions. JR and Charlie are here from Connect It. Have you guys filed a W-2 because I feel like you're employees? They're just here all the time. They're our IT guys, got our phones going, got our networks going. Amazing. And then a dear friend of Jared and mine is Jim Kortner is here somewhere. Raise your hand, Jim. I see you. He's hiding. But Jim helped me just understand the process, and I felt like I was getting some good advice along the way. Our staff is amazing. The Inlander staff, we've just got an amazing staff right now. In particular, on the move, Deanne Cook, our business manager. Angela Rendell. And Wayne Hunt, who has been, I think there's a cot downstairs in the server room that Wayne sleeps on right now. I think we're getting close to being done with that. I mentioned Jim, but another person in particular that I really am excited about having worked with and gotten to know as a friend is Chris, our architect. I was going to try and work in a Fountainhead reference here, but you know, you can't burn my building down, if you know Ayn Rand. But Chris was a great guy to work with. Another example of just the excellence we've got in our community. Chris is designing just amazing buildings. He's putting his mark on Kendall Yards. He's putting his mark on the Inlander. It was great to be able to work with him from the very beginning. You know, and of course I have to thank my brother Jer. So I guess David knows this, having a lot of brothers, but you know, if you're business partners with someone, you know, I could see a lot of times in the history of the Inlander where we might have ended up hiring lawyers, and the problem with that is, you know, we had to go to Thanksgiving. So we worked through it. I mean, there were some tough times. It wasn't always easy, and you know, there's a lot of people in this gathering who've gone through, you know, starting a business, and it's a lot of hard work. But the vision paid off. I think the vision paid off because Spokane wanted something like this. Spokane wants to be dynamic, wants to be energetic. As a lot of people know, we were turning 20 in October, and so that's our anniversary, and I feel like this building's a turning point for us. I have observed that we have literally cemented our name into the skyline of Spokane with this building, and I guess that feels pretty good. There's a purpose here too. I mean, obviously we employ 35 people. That feels great. I love to be a part of people's lives, provide a great work environment, a place where they can feel creative and and rewarded and part of a team, and that's a lot of fun. But we also have a purpose in the community. We want to nurture Spokane. We want to nurture the Inland Northwest. We want to make a vibrant local economy, tune in our readers to the point that you need to support local. We also have to challenge the community and call things what they are at times. I'm super proud of Jacob Fries, our editor. This week's paper tells the story of 3 local young men who were thrown in jail, it turns out, wrongly, spent 5 years in jail for a crime they didn't commit, and an Inlander story in 2010 was the start of busting them out of jail a week ago. They're free men. We do that, and we tell you what restaurants to eat at too, so it's all good. But again, I think Jared and I both just feel real strongly about thanking every Inlander employee today, everybody who helped us with this building. This is for all of you. I know Jared has some closing comments, but we're going to welcome everyone inside to take a look around at this awesome place we get to call home and have the privilege of coming to work to every day. And there is beer and wine. Thank you for indulging us for probably about a half an hour, maybe somewhere around there. We won't do this again for 20 more years. So thank you so much for being here today. It truly is humbling to have this. Obviously, you can tell by the comments that we're making, this means a lot to us. It's a culmination of a lot of work, a lot of effort by so many people. And a lot of them are here today and some of them aren't, so we're humbled. For those that can, please join us for tours right after this. Hopefully most everybody can, of the new Inlander building. You can also check out Chris and Felicia Riley's new business on the trail level. And the mayor told me the trail will be in tomorrow.
Oh yeah, he's doing it.
Within 45 days or so. Labor Day. And they have Unleashed Online Media, and that is just down the stairs. And so they are on the trail level, the first trail level business that I'm aware of. There's great food. Casey Bowie's pulled pork sliders. Tacos El Sol is supposed to be pulling up here soon. We spent the last 2 years eating Tacos El Sol. Personally, I did. I actually ate them 4 days a week because they were closed on Mondays. That's my best joke. Also, there's cake. Celeste Shaw with cake, appropriately named, sent us over a cake. So there's cake in there. There's also great beers from our friends at Orlison Brewing. Thank you again for being here. The doors are open. Please enjoy.